Yeah, I guess we're starting. So I'm LAXJW here. I'm so excited to have all you guys on tonight. Obviously an amazing panel right here. David Weiss is here with us. He's going to talk to us XJWs. We're all XJWs here.
Can you explain what an XJW is and why you have a group to my audience?
Okay, so for anyone listening, an XJW is ex-Jehovah's Witness. So we were in the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses, Watchtower Society, woken up to it, have come out. Similar reasons for some of us. There's different reasons as to why we woke up, but essentially it is a false religion. And we unraveled the lies and came out of it strong. So it's just so awesome to have everybody here. But yeah, we're just gonna kind of bring the subject to the XJW community. This is sort of an attempt to bring this subject that, you know, it's just not delved into a lot, and especially within this community. So, hey, I just thought we would, you know, bring it to light. Jimmy Bell, Jay the Comedian, who's awesome, has a hilarious XJW channel, Jay the Comedian.
Are there lots of XJW jokes?
Oh man, it's non-ending just comedy.
Which one of you is the Glober? Is that you, Jay?
Yes, I'm the Glober.
All right. so
space right now.
Jay,
this is live coverage.
We're going to give you new content. You are going to make so many jokes about the globe when we're done here. But just to start out, step aside a little bit. Show everybody your fake background. Fake background, right?
This is a live background.
That is a cartoon.
Beautiful cartoon.
This is a real video. Just starting out there. I'm showing a real video of the flat Earth. You're showing a fake video of the globe Earth. We'll start there. All right.
Once again, I am out of space right now. Okay.
Yeah, so am I.
I have really good Wi-Fi up here. Because I'm on the satellite.
Yeah.
This is live. That's Asia right there. See my house with the light?
Yeah.
That's my house.
Let me ask a question. When you fly over your house, you get really excited and tell everybody, that's my house, that's my house?
I do. And then I spit on my neighbor.
Right. So the reason I asked that is, do you believe we went to the moon?
I don't know why.
Sure. when you got to the moon and you're on this dusty, gray, dirty ball, what do? Do you look down and go, hey, Neil, look at this rock, this dusty rock? Or do you look up at the colorful, gigantic, magnificent Earth and go, holy mother effer, look at the Earth, right? That's probably the second one is what you would do, right?
I don't know, because if I'm on that spaceship going to Mars...
you're on the moon. The men that landed on the moon, never once did they say, hey, look at the Earth. Never once did they mention the Earth. Not once.
So let me just get this straight, right? So you're on the rocket ship, right? You're going up, you're flying like a mug, right? You in the sky, you look out the window and you say, oh, look at the Earth. That's crazy.
Nobody says that.
Further, you're like, wow, look at the Earth. It's even more crazier. The Earth looks beautiful. The Earth is great. And then when you get to the moon, you're like, wow, this is the freaking moon. We're the first people on the moon. Let's look at the moon now. That's just what I think would happen. I would be all like, yeah, look at the Earth when I first get off.
All right.
The same way I'm like, oh man, I get to Miami. I don't get to Miami and be like, man, look at Chicago from here. You know, like I wouldn't even try to look. I'm just gonna focus on Miami because I'm in Miami, baby.
Which satellite are you on right now? Do you know which one?
Satellite?
Yeah, this one right here.
The one that's the size of a bus.
The one that's the size of a bus. All right. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Hey guys, John just came on.
What's up, John?
Johnny, you stole my background. You on my spaceship too?
Hi, John.
Where you at? I didn't see you up here. I just told everybody I'm on the satellite too. I didn't know you was up here with me, man. Audio. Got him.
Got you.
Audio. Oh man.
You're muted.
All right. Sorry to interrupt. Where were we? Which way are we heading?
Okay, so I had a last minute cancellation, so I was able to get a couple more on. Spirit Anaylizer is Jonathan. Nice to meet you, by the way. I watch a lot of your videos, you and Jimmy Bell, as well as Jay Scott. Jay agreed to come on last minute, and I'm just happy with this dynamic here. It's going to be fun. That's
Jonathan,
for sure.
and taking it from your background, you believe in the fake globe also?
We'll talk about it.
Okay. All right, listen,
We'll
the man,
talk about it.
I can see it right now. The man that's on the fence is the man that is on the flat side of the fence. All right, let's go.
Yeah, so anyway, David, I'm just really happy to have you on here. You're relentlessly working hard to bring these truths to light nonstop, and I just value your presence here on this channel.
Thanks.
And I do really want to bring some things to light. And if you want to just start explaining like how you woke up to flat Earth and what was the starting point and what was your idea of the whole theory at first.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I was doing a podcast with another truth seeker and a comedian that tried to turn everything into a fart joke. And it was called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. It's a great format, by the way. Two truth seekers and a comedian, right? Because the comedian just tries to blow everything up. And in the third year of this podcast, people started sending me flat Earth stuff, and I was like, no way. And then they kept sending it, so I would ban them from our social media because I don't need them even commenting. They're too dumb. And then finally, I was forced to look into it. And I went into looking into it with a negative attitude of I'm just going to prove the globe and disprove flat Earth and be done with this. And that was, 14, 2015, whatever the year was. And here I am today. My whole life has changed. And once you leave the heliocentric matrix, which is a prison for your mind, once you can see it, then you start seeing the world for what it isn't for sure, and what it is and where we are in it. So the thing that flat earthers have in common is we all know more about the globe than the people that believe in the globe, because if they knew half the amount we knew about the globe, they'd be flat earthers, because we're not taught anything about the globe. We're told things about the globe that have zero scientific evidence, right? So, when you look up flat earth, when you think flat Earth, this is what people think of. We're the only disk planet, we're the only pancake, or what? All the planets pancakes? They look like circles to me. No flat earther thinks this. Only globe earthers think flat earthers think this is what flat Earth is. This is mixing two false models: the heliocentric nonsensical model and a pancake floating in space, not real flat Earth model. So, whenever the media is out there, I assume you guys don't trust the media very much. You understand that?
No, no,
you don't trust them, right?
Not at all.
Okay,
The
good.
media is
So
the virus.
Right, exactly. So whenever the media talks about flat Earth, which they do quite often, they always present this turn up floating in space. Okay, that's not what any flat earther thinks. And if that was what a flat earther thinks, then every glober is right to laugh at flat earthers, because that's absolutely ridiculous, right? So these questions are for Jimmy and Jonathan, the two globe believers. Jimmy, you lost your globe already. Is that?
No, I never had the
Jimmy's
globe.
not.
Oh, wait, who? Oh, I'm sorry. You changed places.
That's
Jay,
Jay.
you guys changed places. On the heliocentric ball that you live on, it's spinning. How fast is we spinning at the equator? How many miles? What miles per hour are we moving? Do you have any idea?
1,000 miles
1,000,
per
right?
hour.
Very good. 1,000 miles per hour. And then how fast are we orbiting the sun?
No idea.
Right. Okay. 66,600 miles an hour. Interesting number if you're into any of the numerology. 66,600. How fast is that? That's so fast you can't even fathom it. And then we're chasing the sun. Chasing it because the sun is traveling at almost 500,000 miles an hour. So every year we're moving 4.4 billion miles from where we were last year, never to return again to the same spot, while we're corkscrewing around the sun. But if you go out tonight and take a picture of the stars, next year, same night, same time, same place, go out and take a picture, every star is in the exact same place. That doesn't make any sense, right? But now let's just put this into perspective. This is the hypersonic sled track. It's going to go by at Mach 8.6. Did you see it? Mach 8.6. I encourage you to look this up on YouTube. Hypersonic sled track, right? Hypersonic sled track. So you can hear it. It's shocking. Mach 8.6. We're orbiting. You have to believe that we live on a rock surrounded by water, surrounded by air, adjacent to a void. That's scientifically impossible, but you have to believe that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, moving all of those motions, and you don't feel them. We're orbiting the sun 10 times faster than this. We're chasing the sun 100 times faster than this. You can't fathom 2 times faster than this. But when we go outside, we see stuff like this. Now, what does your common sense tell you about this lake? Is this lake corkscrewing through space, changing speeds, changing directions, moving 4 different directions at once? Or is this perfectly still? The container, the shoreline that holds that lake in, is the land that's higher than the lake. If the land was lower, the lake would flow away. So that container is holding that lake in. It's perfectly still. It's not moving. Neil deGrasse Tyson says because of the spin of the Earth, the water bulges 14 miles high at the equator. 14 miles high. That's 3 times the height of an airplane that's flying at cruising altitude. So when I fly from North America to South America, I go, he's knocking on the door, the pilot, hey, don't forget to triple your altitude so we can skim across that bulge of water. Okay? That never happens because there is no bulge of water, right? This is nature. This is common sense. So real quick, I'm going to wrap it up. When people think of flat Earth, they think of the disk floating in space. They have no idea, right? But we're told that Antarctica is this island on the bottom of a ball. They do tell us some truth about Antarctica. They say it's the highest land plateau on Earth. Its land, on average, is higher than all of the other continents. Well, that's interesting because there's no satellite pictures except of the edge, which are just, high altitude pictures, but there's no pictures of the interior of Antarctica. And that's because it's not real, right? This is how Antarctica is set up. Antarctica is the shoreline of our pond. It's the land that's higher than our oceans that holds in our pond with its lateral pressure. So out here is the outer space. In here is where we live. All the islands are surrounded by water. All the continents are surrounded by water. And all of the water is surrounded by Antarctica, what we call Antarctica. This is off limits, 60 degrees south. This pink line, no one is allowed to explore independently beyond there.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's more true than people believe. The Globers will go, there's no, you can go there. There's 100 companies you can book a trip with. Well, that trip brings you to this little peninsula right here. It costs you $10,000 to $50,000, if not more. You go for 3 days, you barely get off the boat at all. No one's allowed to go out here, right? This is huge. This is bigger than some countries. And you think you're going to see anything? That's like, I live on the East Coast here. I pull up on the ocean to Long Island. I think I can tell you what's going on in California. Okay. I can't even tell you what's going on in Connecticut on the other side of Long Island. Okay. So that's all they show you and they kick you out. No one is allowed to go there, right? All of the countries in the world fighting, Russia, bad guy, China, bad guy, all of these countries that can't agree on anything. They all agree on 2 things. Everyone has to get this, and nobody can go to Antarctica. And those 100 companies, by the way, they're all owned by one guy. One guy runs all 100 competing companies to take you to Antarctica. It's completely controlled.
Who's the guy?
I forget his name. We looked up it a little while ago, but they're all the companies. They're all shell companies for the same company. It's all run by the same people. And you only go to this one, there's one little place and no one's allowed to go out there, period. And there's seven different islands that have, or naval bases that have, that guard you from going to Antarctica. So if we look down here at Antarctica, where'd it go? This right here. These are all of the naval bases that stop you from going to Antarctica. The Globers go, what? on your flat Earth, it's a lot of area to protect. How to do that? Well, they've got naval bases spread out. They've got buoy system. Anyone that goes through the buoy system gets picked up on their buoy system because there are no satellites out there, and there are no satellites anywhere. And remember the Falkland Islands War? What was that about? Little islands, way south. They're fighting over it to have a naval base on there to protect you from going from Antarctica. You know why you can't go to Antarctica? Because the ice. We have to protect the ice from getting polluted and the penguins. That's it. Go deforest the Amazon, take the lungs of our world down, kill the gorillas, no problem. But don't go to Antarctica, where Admiral Byrd says there's untold resources, coal, uranium, fuel, natural gas, and there's no people, no animals, no vegetation. Well, why wouldn't we go down there and use those resources? Every country in the world agrees, and you can't even question the treaty until the year 2041. How about that?
Yeah, and they also say, sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was going to say, I know about the Treaty of Antarctica and how many nations signed on to that. So I do know that.
Yeah,
Can
so
I ask a
real quick
question?
Yeah, in the app, under the frequently asked questions, there's an Antarctica button, and there's great videos on the Antarctic Treaty in there and all sorts of other phenomena of Antarctica. That'll keep you busy for a week alone, that button. Go ahead. Who's asking?
John.
I have a question. A couple of things first, so that you know where I'm coming from. One, no, I do not trust the media. Not at all, especially over the last 2.5 years. Jimmy is very well aware of that. Two, I am intellectually honest enough to know that I believe what I believe because it's what I've been taught. I've never been to space. I've never looked down at a globe. So I'm intellectually honest enough to say that I have not done that. And while I have a rough understanding of the math that I have read to show that it is so, I'm not a physicist. So these questions are just honest questions based on the things I have seen and read. And I'm asking you because you seem to know the numbers well enough to answer this question.
I don't know all of them, but hit me.
Okay, so you said that you showed pictures of an ocean that is still, and you asked, why is it that if the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, whatever it is, I don't know the numbers, that it doesn't move? Well, in answer to that, I would say, why is it that I can hold a glass of water in a car? Hang on, let me finish the question. Why can I hold a glass of water in a car driving at 100 miles an hour? And that does not appear to move to my sight either, at least not in any way that's, significant enough to make any kind of a difference, except for maybe if the road is rough.
Can we change it to an airplane with perfectly calm air, no turbulence? Same thing. You could drink your water on the airplane. You could take a walk to the bathroom. And
it doesn't like move in a way that appears to be having any impact. So how is it that, in what I understand, what I've read, let me put it that way, is that because the Earth is moving at a consistent speed, just like if you're consistently driving a certain speed in a car, the water won't move. But when you accelerate, the water does bend because you're accelerating, or if you're decelerating, which is acceleration.
Or taking a turn.
It also bends, or taking a turn, it also bends. But if it's consistent speed and motion, it doesn't move. So what would someone who says that the spherical model is wrong, what is your response to that?
Well, there's we'll just deal with the slowest motion of the Earth, which is the spin at 1,000 miles an hour. So if you're in an airplane going 500 miles an hour and you want to compare your glass of water to a spinning Earth, you have to double the speed of the airplane to 1,000 miles an hour. You have to nosedive a mile a minute as fast as a free-falling skydiver, and you have to remove the outside of the airplane. How's your water glass doing? Okay, so here's something in a car, a perfectly smooth road. You're in a Mercedes-Benz, great suspension, 100 miles an hour, smoothest road ever. Get a dinner plate, fill it with water. It's doing okay. If that car speeds up or slows down the tiniest bit or takes the tiniest turn, that water is gone. Neil deGrasse Tyson says the water bulges 14 miles high. That's taller than Mount Everest. okay, at the equator because of the spin. So you're thinking, by the way, what you said, the reason I laughed, I didn't mean to laugh at you because I'm laughing at myself because I said the same thing. We're all programmed to say, I could drink a glass of water in a car or an airplane. I could walk to the bathroom in an airplane. And it's the same thing. But the analogy is we don't live in an enclosed system on a globe. We are not going in a straight line. We are curving. And when you curve, that's acceleration. 100 miles an hour, when you curve, you have the same force that's acceleration. Go in a car, fill up a dinner plate with water, take the slightest turn, the water's gone. Okay. So you're thinking that we're going in a straight line at a constant speed is not true, because we're going around the sun, speeding up and slowing down while we're spinning, curving, curve direct trajectory, curve trajectory, and we're chasing the sun in a bigger curved trajectory. All of these things are impossible. And then we're all talking about things which we shouldn't even be talking about it, because space, a vacuum next to a high pressure system, is scientifically impossible. We're talking about Narnia. Okay. Narnia does not exist, right? The global believers believe that we live on a rock. Well, let's back it up a little bit. Once upon a time, there was nothing. It exploded and became everything. That's amazing. And then two rocks stuck together, and another rock and another piece of dust. And they started getting bigger and bigger, and they started creating gravity, and it started pulling all the rocks in, and it created the earth. And then all of the gases, for some reason, started to collapse on each other. And they got so much gravity that they collapsed so hard that they turned into nuclear furnaces that burn for billions of years, that are bigger than these planets. And they left a void in between, a vacuum, a void, zero pressure. Nature abhors a vacuum. So now we have burning balls of gas in a vacuum, rocky balls being held onto the burning balls with water and air on the outside. This is Narnia. Narnia laughs at this, actually. This is absolute scientific absurdity. I won't even call it a leap of faith, because a leap of faith has a lot more going for it than any of that, because there's no faith, no science, no experiment in nature, in a lab, upside down, sideways, anywhere where you can show high pressure next to low pressure without a physical barrier.
How does the like when we see a solar eclipse, or is that not a solar eclipse?
Lunar eclipse, lunar eclipse. Yeah.
The one where you can see the shadow of the Earth on the moon. What's that called? What's the one?
That's called a lunar eclipse.
Lunar eclipse, right?
Yeah.
Why is the shadow always circular?
Right.
Why is it never oval or flat or like weird or like shaped
or
like
this, yeah, right? That's
exactly.
Again, pre-programmed by Bill Nye, the line guy with the bow tie, or Neil deGrasse Tyson, the failed comedian, or no, the other one's the failed comedian, the failed actor. So the eclipse, the lunar eclipse, where is it? Is this it? No, that's not it. So talk about the lunar eclipse. When you take a ball and cast a shadow, like hold a basketball against the wall in a dark room and get a spotlight on the far end of the room and shine it across, that shadow is nice and crisp on the wall. Move the ball away, the shadow gets bigger, right? Gets bigger. And then move it farther away, 10 feet away, the shadow kind of fuzzes out. You lose the shadow. The shadow doesn't hold a sharp edge over distance. You have to believe that the Earth is casting a sharp shadow on a ball 250,000 miles away. That's absolute insanity. Okay, that doesn't work.
You gotta, when you deal with the massive sizes we're talking about, like, yes, it works with a basketball. So like a basketball is super small relative to the Earth, and the sun is way bigger than any light I could ever project. So when you're dealing with these massive sizes and things like that, then because when you see an eclipse of the moon, it's a perfect circle on the Earth. When you look at I've never seen it from space.
Right. But the eclipse on the Earth, the last one we had was 70 miles wide. Okay. 70 miles wide. How come it's not bigger? Right? There's no way the moon that big, that far, can put a small circle. The only way you can do that is with something close. Now,
oh, I see what you're saying on that now.
Yeah.
So the
You know,
sun,
you know what?
lunar-
Well, hold on. I'm mixing up my eclipses. That is a solar eclipse, the shadow of the moon. We're talking
Okay.
about. I just switched it. It's right. So here's another one. Here's one. We have a lunar eclipse when the sun and the moon and the Earth goes in between them and casts a shadow on the other. Right? You with me?
Yeah, on
So-
the moon.
On the moon. So here's the sun. Now this is called the Selenian eclipse, where the viewer, who's always on the top of the Earth from their point of view, could see the sun above one horizon and the Earth above the other horizon. That says that the Earth is not in between them yet. And not only does the eclipse start, the shadow comes in from the top. That's not because of the Earth. Now you want to know what causes that shadow?
What?
So do I. I don't know. Okay. There's lots of ancient stories about dark bodies in the sky, and there's actually some really good video of they filmed a solar eclipse. Now we're switching to solar eclipse where the moon is supposedly blocking the sun, right? And during the totality, there was like 4 dark bodies in front of the sun, one of them blocking the sun, and then the other 3 were out in front of the sun, and they were filmed from multiple windows and stuff. And so there are these other non-luminescent dark bodies up there. Again, I can't go up there. I can't touch it. I can't tell you. If you can't touch it or measure it, you don't know how far it is. But we can rule out the distances. Okay. They tell you know why the moon and the sun look like the same size? The sun's 400 times bigger than the moon. Why does it look like it's the same size as the moon?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Asking in general. This is a good question.
Yeah, well, the answer, the answer they give us, which is a decent answer, is that the sun is 400 times farther and 400 times bigger. So they match out, right? It's 400 times bigger, 400 times farther. So it reduces to the size of the moon, and hey, they look good. The idea that they would perfectly match up in space is it's incalculable how small that chances of that happening are. But guess what? There's eclipses every year. It happens again and again and again. And guess what happened? They happen in all these different patterns. Like, oh, there's 2 here, and then there's 1 here, and then there's 4-year skip here, and and then there's another one over here. That pattern repeats itself every 18 years. 18 years. The eclipse patterns repeat itself like a fine clock. Not like a beehive gravitationally crazy solar system that is like a fine clock also. It repeats itself every 18 years. And so you can predict eclipses by when they happened before. That's not a heliocentric system. But let's talk about Narnia again for a minute. So if the in the heliocentric system, you know how big a yoga ball is. I'm holding a yoga ball. If the sun was a yoga ball, how big would the Earth be right next to it? Tiny, right? Like a marble, like a small marble, right? That's what they teach us. So imagine you're standing on top of that small marble. You're a tiny little micron, right? And the sun is it's a mile over your head at noon. So literally, it would literally be right on top of you. So you look up, the entire sky would be the sun, right? You'd look up and you would see basically the whole sky would be the sun. If the sun was at noon, was a mile over your house, the whole sky would be the sun. Because you're on a BB or marble, and that thing is a 1/4 of an inch over you, right? It would fill the whole sky. Everybody with me? I'm trying to draw a picture here. Okay, so now we move the sun 93 million miles away. That's how far they say it is. Okay, 93 million. And then now it looks like the size of a coin held at arm's length. Why did it get smaller?
Because of the distance.
Distance, perspective, it got smaller. Very good. These aren't trick questions. They're easy. Okay, if I doubled the distance, how much smaller would it get?
Probably doubly small.
Well, it went from the entire sky, horizon to horizon, to the size of a coin. I argue if you doubled the distance, it would be too small to see. But let's just say, let's double that distance. So now it's 4 times farther. Do you think you could see it?
Probably not.
Okay, let's make it 8 times farther. Do you think you can see it? Definitely not. Scientifically provable that the angular size, right? The angular size is the width of something. If it's smaller than, there's a formula. It's 0.02 degrees, whatever. Yeah. That your eye can't resolve it. And basically there's a rule of thumb. I forget the number. It's like, if you take the angular width of something and you multiply it by 2,000 or something, put it 2,000 times farther than the angular size, you can't see it. Okay. Like if I had a penny and then I moved it 2,000 penny widths away, you couldn't see it because it's too small. Okay. Whether 2,000, 10,000, I forget the number, but you do that with the sun 8 times as far. It is magnitudes too far to see. Now I cannot move the sun 8 times farther, but we can compare it to something that they tell us, right? So 8 times farther, by the way, 93 million miles is 8 light minutes. You know what a light minute is? The distance light travels in a minute. Okay, light hour, light year, right? 8 light minutes. So 8 times farther, 64, we'll call the light hour. At a light hour away, we can scientifically prove that you cannot see the sun. It's too small. And the brightness issue, we'll get into that next. And that's a whole nother problem. Okay, so, well, what can we do? Well, we've all looked up and seen Polaris. You guys have seen Polaris? We're all in the north here. You can see Polaris.
What is Polaris?
Polaris is our North Star.
North
Star. It's an average star. It's it's right off the edge of the Big Dipper, and it's visible in any semi-clear night. Okay, they tell us it's about 48 times bigger than the sun. So if I brought Polaris to Earth and I wanted to compare it to the sun that we moved 1 light hour away, I'd have to move it 48 light hours away to make it the same size, just like the sun and the moon, right? 48 times bigger. So I'll make it 48 times farther. And they're both too small to see. So 48 times farther is 2 light hours, 2 light days. I'm sorry, 2 light days, 48 hours, 2 light days away. So we just scientifically proved that you cannot see Polaris due to angular size at 2 light days away. Do you know how far they tell us Polaris is? I'll give you a 5 multiple choice. 2 light weeks, 2 light months, 2 light years, 200 light years, or 433 light years.
433 light years.
Okay,
so I'm gonna go with that one too.
So my point is, that's a number you can't even fathom. You can't even fathom it. Our closest star is 4.5 light years away. That's 25 trillion miles. Polaris is a number that I can't even pronounce, that you can't even comprehend, because it makes no sense, right? And except for you flat earthers that watch my stuff, how long do you think 1 trillion seconds is? Just so you understand what a trillion is. People go, oh, trillion, we're $1 trillion in debt. How long do you guys think 1 trillion seconds is?
31,000 years.
Yeah, you live in listening. It's 31,000.
38,000.
It's 31,000 years. Just think about that. Like if the United States was in debt for $1 trillion, which is just too much, $1 every second would take 31,000 years to pay off. All right. Thank God we're not in debt $1 trillion, because that would be crazy. Okay. All right. So all of this stuff is control. It's control of your mind. It's control of, they want us in a religion, of a religious religion, or they want us in the scientific religion. The scientific religion is the dumbest, most ridiculous one ever. If you had a choice to go back into where you guys left or scientism, I'd go back to where you came from. It's probably way smarter than this.
I don't know,
have
man.
Another question.
I highly
Go
doubt
ahead.
it.
Please do.
Okay,
And wait, one more thing. I asked all the questions you're going to ask, and they were all shot down, and I didn't hate the person that told me, that filled me in, so don't hate me.
It's fine.
All right.
I hate no one.
All right.
So you said that a pressurized system can't exist next to a vacuum. So while you were talking about the other stuff, I looked that up. And the answer that I saw to that is
Pressure
that
gradient.
Space is not a vacuum.
It's a void,
Because-
no
hang on,
pressure.
let me finish my answer before you respond, please.
Sorry.
So what causes a vacuum on Earth, this is coming from what I read, is the pressure of the atmosphere pushing down from gravity. So say you have a bottle and you pull all the air out and you cap it. What makes that a vacuum is the pressure of the air pushing down from the gravity of the Earth and the atmosphere. So if you poke a hole in the bottle, of course, it's going to fill with air. So what you're saying, according to this, is true, and that you can't have a vacuum next to a pressurized system because it would pull the air or whatever out of it. But because space does not, I mean, there's nothing in it. I mean, there is, but it's very small, that it's not exerting pressure down. I mean, there's not the atmosphere around it that's pushing to create a vacuum. It's just empty space. So it's true you can't have a vacuum next to a pressurized system, but the answer to that, according to what I read, is that that's because space is not a vacuum.
It's low pressure.
Space. So how do you answer that?
Yeah, it's no pressure is low pressure. We call it low pressure, right? Low pressure can't exist next to high pressure. Gravity can't resist low pressure. I could take a straw down here on Earth where the gravity is the strongest, and with the low vacuum, or not vacuum, low pressure of my cheeks and lungs, I can suck water and air up and away from Earth. In the system that you're talking about, I could take a shoebox and I could suck all of the air out of the room, and the air that's in the shoebox would stay there because of gravity holding it down. That doesn't happen. You know that doesn't happen.
Well,
I know that doesn't happen.
No, because there's an atmosphere, and according to the answer, the gravity is pushing the atmosphere down towards the box.
Gravity.
That's their answer.
Gravity. Gravity, the weakest force on Earth that nobody can measure, that 96% of it has to be made up with dark matter and dark energy. And we say, how do you know that there's dark matter and dark energy? No one's ever seen it. No one's ever measured it. And their answer is, because if it didn't exist, gravity wouldn't be true. Therefore, it has to exist. That's not how you do science. When you have to do science, you have a theory, the theory of gravity that's never been proven. You throw it out. You don't make up 96% crap to make it work. And here's the other thing. Let's pretend gravity was real, okay? The electrostatic force, where negative attracts positive, okay? That is like 10 to the 20th power, which is a number that you can't fathom, stronger than gravity, according to science, okay? 10, that a trillion has 12 zeros. You got to add a whole bunch more zeros on there. You can't fathom that number. So we know that the electrostatic force of the Earth attracts things to Earth. Let me show you a couple things. So this is how we think it works. The sun and the moon are the anode and cathode. The salt water carries the current. The land is a salt bridge. That's a battery. If you understand how batteries work. All right. So the Earth has a neutral or negative charge. Okay. And what we did is we took that's not what I want to show you. We had these helium balloons, and these balloons are pulling up on this wire, and there's just a button on the end here, right? This wire goes to a Van der Graaf generator where we can put a positive charge into the cap. So all we're doing is changing the electric potential of that cap, and as we add the positive charge, it gets heavier. Now, did we affect gravity, or did we change the electrostatic? We discharge it, goes back up. Did we change the electrostatic charge? All right, let's try the opposite. This is a tinfoil triangle. Put a negative charge in it. Excuse me. Anything that lifts off the Earth is surrounded in this positive field, right? And so the Earth isn't moving. It says, hey, down is this way. Buoyancy and density sort everything else out. But this one, we're keeping the charge in it, and it's going up. Are we defying gravity, the weakest, weak, unproven, made up force, or are we defying the electrostatic charge of the Earth? Let's look at another one. Okay. This is a new plane that MIT is doing. It's called the silent drone. No moving parts, absolutely silent. It just changes the electrostatic charge and it could fly. Are we defying gravity, or are we defying the electrostatic charge of the Earth? Okay. The electrostatic charge, by the way, isn't that strong, but you change it enough and things will float. Things will, go up and down, and things go up and down because of buoyancy and density, right? This blimp is lighter than this ship, which is more dense, less dense than the water. And this submarine is more dense than the water. And that's how things sort themselves out. Gravity is a made up force. The Globers will say, well, the air gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner until there's no more air. Then there's a void. That's not how it works. You can't have air pressure without a container. You get a propane tank. It's half full. There's liquid on the bottom. There's gas in the middle and the lighter gas on the top. It's in a container. So if I said, hey, go get me 5 gallons of propane, but don't use the container. Just bring the propane back. You couldn't do it, right? You need a container to maintain the pressure. So we live in some sort of container. I'm not saying what it is, don't know what it is, but we're in a container and we're not next to a void. That's impossible.
Okay, well, I have a couple of other things to say and ask, and these
Okay.
are like honest questions because
I believe
Jimmy,
you.
this is very much last minute for me. I was coming home and Jimmy's like, "Hey, you want to get on?" I'm like, "I'm completely not prepared to have this conversation." So I'm just throwing out the stuff that comes to mind as it comes to mind.
Sure.
Okay, first of all, I am not a materialist, and anyone who knows me knows that is true. So I am the first person to tell you that just because I agree with what you said, that you can't say, well, if this isn't true, it has to be true, because if it's not, then all our other stuff is wrong. Like, that's not science. I agree with you there. I'm totally with you. And I've certainly found, like, I don't believe, I've seen too many holes in things like the Big Bang Theory. I'm not a materialist. I'm a software developer. The math doesn't work for complex life to exist in a finite space over a finite period of time. Like, I'm with you there.
I'm listening.
So my next question is, I have a close friend who is a cell tower engineer, and I've had this conversation briefly with him. And his response is that all of the math that he has to do and that his colleagues have to do to keep satellites in space requires that the Earth be a sphere, because if it wasn't, the math would fail, the satellites would fall. So what is your response to the fact that the math relies on Einstein's calculations that assume a spherical Earth?
Your friend's not going to like this because
Satellites don't exist.
we're corkscrewing through space and moving in all these different directions, but these satellites that can maintain a spot over, a geostationary satellite somehow mimics all of those motions, all of those curves. It's scientifically impossible. So yeah, he's doing math based on data that he's told about satellites, and it's a jobs program. NASA is a jobs program. It's the key, you can't have slaves that know they're in a prison and don't have a purpose, right? So he may be doing something useful, but he is making up, he is doing stuff that doesn't exist. Now, there's people that make satellites for NASA and they send them to NASA, but they're not going into space. Well, they're going up, but they go up on balloons. Okay. Do you know that NASA has a massive balloon program? NASA controls all the helium on Earth, and they launch tens of thousands of satellites on balloons. Okay. So I can give you the plans, the architectural plans, the ground plans for an amusement park on an island. I can tell you how fast the roller coaster is going. I can give you all the specs of the track, everything, where the popcorn stand is going to go, everything. I can give you the blueprints. I could have them stamped, sealed, approved, right? A receipt for everything. Does that mean there's an amusement park on an island? Or am I just showing you a bunch of data? We talked to an old guy, this was years ago, it wasn't me. Somebody interviewed him. And in the interview, they were talking about the moon landing, and he was in the control room during the moon landing. And he said it was smooth as can be because we did so many simulations that when it was time to do the real thing, we couldn't tell the difference.
And the moon landing is a good example of that, or the 6 moon landings that they've claimed.
And now, have you ever seen a satellite? You ever look up at night and see a satellite? The little lights in the sky I have.
Yeah, we got them. I can go out right now and I can point 3 of them out right now.
Yeah. So here's a 747. Can you see the engine on it right there? You can see it right there, right? Here's a 747. Can you see the engine on it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think satellites are much bigger than these engines? These engines are gigantic. Most of them are smaller. Okay. Satellites are 250 times farther than this airplane. And you think you can see that with your naked eye? I'm sorry. You are seeing something, but it ain't a satellite. All of the luminaries that we see.
What am I seeing?
I'll tell you. Well, here's the thing. We don't know. We're going to talk about the optics of the sky in a minute, but they tell us, our sun is giant. Betelgeuse is 9 million times bigger than the sun. And then, RJ7 is, 50 million times bigger than Betelgeuse. You got all these stars, all different sizes. But when we look up, all the stars are the same size. How come we don't see big stars and little stars? Are all of the big ones that much farther away from us so they look the same size as the smaller ones? Okay. We are seeing luminaries here within our Earth system. And when we send balloons up at night to 120,000 feet, all the stars disappear. That doesn't make any sense. That
So
doesn't
my
make any
question
sense in a
is-
heliocentric system.
My
So-
question is, what
Go ahead.
is it? Like, what is it? What if the world is flat? One, why is it flat?
Do you guys
And
believe
why would people want it to be like
Great
round?
question. Great question. We'll talk about that in a moment. Do you guys all believe there is a creator?
No.
Yes.
I do. I believe that.
There's a creator.
I
Can
can't
you
buy
gu-
into the Big Bang Theory,
Right.
but I do believe that things were created.
There was some sort of creator, and let's not go any farther than that. Let's not say that the big guy in the sky. Let's not say anything. There's some sort of intelligent design. Okay. Well, we'll just go with that. Well, the fact that we don't know how that was done doesn't mean it wasn't done, right? There's clear evidence. When you look at a building, yeah, there's a builder. When you look at the human eye, yeah, there's a creator. Okay. Right. Who that is, what the reason, that's a whole nother thing, right? That's a whole nother podcast. But the why the lie is literally the best question of all, because that's the one where I just said, what difference does it make?
Before we get to why the lie, because that's the big one for me, I have
All right,
one other smaller question.
Please, I love your questions.
I watched a video for Jimmy because he asked me to do that and try to understand like the general arguments. So the guy in the video showed, and he was being reasonable, but I was looking up everything he was talking about as he was talking about it.
Mhm.
And he was showing pictures of the Earth, which were obviously composite photos. That's true, but they were older pictures. And when I looked that up, it showed pictures that are not composites that they say were taken from the Discover. So what's different? Like, how is it that if we have solid non-composite pictures from the Discover, what he didn't talk about that? Like, what's your response to that? I know the pictures look different, and I don't know off the top of my head why that is, but I've read answers. So yeah, it depends on the telescope you're looking through. It depends on the satellite that's taking the picture. Like, it depends on a lot of things. Just like when you take the picture of the same object with different cameras, you get different colorations, you get different effects. But my question isn't so much about that as, do you believe that there is no Discover out there taking pictures? In which case, where is this solid non-composite image coming from?
Did you ever look at the abbreviation for the Epic Discover? It's the Epic Deceiver. Okay. And so these are composite drawings. So the better one to talk about is the Himawari 8, the Japanese satellite that takes a picture of the Earth every 10 or 15 minutes. And it has the cloud data and everything. But we found we were tipped off by an insider, the NASA FTP server that showed us, and these are images from the server. This is a heat map of the world. This is the heat map. Let me just go a little farther. And then it took us in, and we found where they take this model of the Earth, they wrap radar data around it, then they put a Terminator line on it. This is where we got the file from, right? Then they put a Terminator line on it. So if this is the Terminator, how did we see the clouds that were over here? This is showing these clouds over here. This is showing that this is a composite, and we caught them red-handed. Right? They're faking it. They take the blue marble, they wrap the weather data around it, they put a Terminator line on it, and they send it. There's a new picture.
I saw those files myself. It was 4 or 5 years ago that came out.
Exactly. And so, yeah, it's all fake. And all of this is done to keep your mind in a prison. It's like many religions. It's to keep your mind in a prison. They don't want you knowing where you are. They don't want you knowing who you are, the power of your mind. In school, they teach us we only use 10% of our brain. And that's the goal of school. The other 90% connects with nature, connects with spirit, connects with information outside of your body. There's many stories where this woman got a heart and lung transplant from a young kid that died in a motorcycle crash. And as soon as she was like vegan and healthy and everything, and as soon as she got better, she like was craving hamburgers and chicken nuggets and a special soda or something. And then she found out that the kid that's what that kid loves. So that kid's heart and lungs were still receiving consciousness from outside of the body. Okay. Or there was, you can explain it a bunch of other ways, but the thing is, school education, the bankers, education program, indoctrination program, want you to be good banking customers. They want you to learn accounting. They want you to learn, you know, how to work for a corporation, how to be a good little worker slave. They don't want you to learn about sacred geometry. They don't want you to learn about vortex mathematics. They don't want you to learn about our true history. God, if you look into our history, it's the rabbit hole bigger than flat Earth. So they don't want you to know that your thoughts create your reality. Look at your lives. Every single thing you have in your life is the way that you think. Nobody has control over you except in your imagination. Money has no value except in everyone's imagination. Okay. Other things have value. Okay. But, you know, when you barter with somebody, that is way more energetic. I barter with friends. I make hot sauce and I won't sell it, but I'll trade you something for it. Right. It's such a much better energy exchange than using their crazy fiat satanic money. Right. We're playing in their field, which is the globe, with their monopoly money. OK, and you look at their money, compare it to our money. It's the same color. OK, you know, all the bills are the same color. So that's why.
Okay, I have questions. I always have questions.
Please.
So first of all, just to reiterate.
By the way, I'm sorry. That's one reason why. Another reason why they're hiding more land. Okay. They're hiding more continents. They're hiding freedom. They're hiding abundant resources. They're hiding the fact that there is no energy shortage. There is no overpopulation. There is no shortage of anything. We are on this abundant plane and they're hiding more resources, other lands beyond Antarctica. Go ahead.
Okay, so I've read a couple of Graham Hancock's books, and I've done enough research into the history of like the United States to know that a lot of what we're taught in school is not the way things actually were, that history is written by the winners, and so that's what we get. But every time I watch or read anything about flat Earth, what it always comes down to, you sound different, I'll give you that. But what it always comes down to is the Earth has to be flat because the Bible says it is. And now I get that that's not where you're coming from, but everyone else I've listened to and everyone else I've seen ask that question, the bottom line is they're trying to hide God from us. And that just does not fly for me.
Well,
like that doesn't fly.
I'm not even using the word God, and you happen to be following there's Christians everywhere. There's a lot of Christians everywhere, any group, right? And they lead with the Bible. My co-host led with the Bible. I never lead with the Bible because if you don't believe in the Bible, then anything that you use in there is useless. It doesn't matter. But science, actual science, like we were doing with the distances to the sun and comparing it to Polaris, right? When you actually use real science, that speaks to everyone. That's the natural language of real science is the language of the Earth. Okay. And when you look for flat Earth, if you go looking for flat Earth, you're going to get propaganda from the people that you don't trust. That's where it all comes from. Google flat Earth. Every single video that comes up is nonsense, absolute nonsense, right? You know, I did a debate. It was supposed to be a moderated conversation. It just turned into Professor Dave making faces at me and saying stupid things. It's the #1 hit when you search flat Earth. They think that's hurting us, but it's getting people that would never look into flat Earth, because I've gotten countless emails going, yeah, hey, I'm not a flat earther. I think flat Earth is stupid, but why did Professor Dave act like that during that debate you had? And he's not really a professor. He's a fake professor. And that gives me the opportunity to send them a playlist. I'm like, this is why. Watch the first 3 videos in this list. And then I get an email back a couple days later. They're like, oh my God. They're like, could send me more. And that's why I created my app. And I want to talk to you about my app because I listened to your last show. You made a comment and I have something to say about that. It's called the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. You can find it at flatearthdave.com. But this one will feed you all the information you want. The frequently asked questions, like, people say, well, what about eclipses? Or what about seasons? Or what about gravity? What about ships over the horizon? And like, if I click ships over the horizon, up comes a playlist of videos YouTube doesn't want you to see. They don't want you to see these videos because all the work's been done for you. And I ask you, don't just believe a video. This is what got me. I saw these videos And then I went out and did it myself to confirm. I was like, wait, I've seen ships go over the horizon. And then I realized, no, I haven't. It's the angular. It's a couple things that why ships disappear. But we can see too far. That's like one of the biggest ones. But there's so many things about it. But the app will deliver all of that to you. The app is $3, right? There's a friend finder on it too, but that you need a subscription to use. And you know, the subscription is $11 a year, just to make sure everybody knows. Get the app. The app didn't used to have the friend finder and a bunch of extra features, and everybody loved it. Just use it like that if you don't want to do the subscription. But it's amazing the amount of people that are waking up to flat Earth. And guess what? You guys are ex-JWs. There are no ex-flat Earthers. Okay,
That's right.
Because we kill you if you try to leave. Okay. All right.
Well,
So-
here's my when speaking to this community, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm off base here. But one thing about being an ex-Jehovah's Witness is when we woke up from that religion, we realized that everything that they said to us was a lie. Everything was made up to control us and to manipulate us for their benefit. And so I think when it comes to different things out there, whether you're talking aliens, deep state, flat earth, whatever, there's going to be people out there that are going to ask a lot of questions, and they're going to need some solid evidence. And I think by going the science route, I think that's a better route to go versus, going to what the Bible says. Because there's a lot of
I agree. I agree 100%. Last thing about the friend finder. People like, hey, they're going to round us up. The flat Earth, it's a tracking app. It's a tracking app. If you're worried about tracking, get rid of your cell phone. Your calculator app tracks you more better than my app does. Let me tell you about my app. It defaults to your approximate location, right? You could also set your phone to never show my exact location. So you have an approximate location of an approximate location, okay? When you change your location, it doesn't update until you tell it to update, okay? All right? It is, though, if you try to track somebody using my app, you're never going to find them, okay? You can just use your banking app. Your banking app knows exactly where you are, okay?
Yeah,
so if you think my app is, and then the other thing is, it's all anonymous. You don't put your name in there. You don't do anything, right? And I have a thing where when you go into the friend finder for the first time, you have to put an email address and a password. Okay. The reason for that is if you change phones, you can load it onto a new phone without having to do any customer service. And you can use a fake email address. You can literally put test@test.test. And it doesn't matter. The only reason I ask for an email address is in case you forget your password, we could email it to you. Okay. If you're not worried about putting it out to it, put gobbledygook@gobbledygook.com.
Dave,
Okay?
can I ask a question?
Yes.
Ask a question real quick.
You just did.
In your mind, who benefits the most from the globe idea?
Lie. Yeah, the globe lie is the bloodline, the bloodlines that are running this world. You have different names for them: the Council of Foreign Relations, the Illuminati, the Royals, the Rothschilds, and the people above them. I believe that all of the rulers that we see are the puppets of the real rulers that we don't see. Okay, they may live in North Korea. Who knows? They may live beyond that stupid dingo fence in Australia. They may live in the Iron Republic on the other side of Australia. Who knows? We don't know, because we want the ability to go explore, right? There's so many stories about lands beyond Antarctica. Okay. There's so many stories about that, that they ring true to me. But again, I'm not claiming they're true because again, I can't go there. I can't go there. And until we can go there, we don't know. Like here we are, there could be another pond over here and another pond over here and another pond over here. Right. If our world is set up, maybe it's set up like this, right? We live in this pond and these are other pieces of the plane. You know what you call a piece of a plane? A planet. Okay. So these other planets are within 10, 50, 100,000 miles, right? They're very close. compared to cosmological distances, our closest neighbor, 25 trillion miles, ridiculous. Scientifically possible, scientifically impossible Narnia. Okay? Scientifically possible. We want we want airships back. You know that in the 1800s, there was airships everywhere? You know, New York City, Empire State Building was a docking station for airships? Okay? There's photos of airships docking to the Empire State Building. Okay, they were everywhere, but then they demonized airships by demonizing hydrogen, linking it to the hydrogen bomb in Hindenburg. So everyone's afraid of hydrogen. And NASA owns all of the helium companies in the world. Go figure. Okay.
Okay, I have another question.
Yes.
First of all, in regards to the whole helium thing, like I get what you're saying there. I lost that point. But okay, if what you're saying is true, just devil's advocate here, if there are these powerful people who don't want us to know all these things, who are trying to control our lives and all the things that you're saying that they're trying to do, you are actively speaking against that. So why are you still alive? If they're really so powerful.
Great question.
Why are you still in existence?
I believe that there's rules here. I believe in a creator. I believe that there are rules of this world, and they're not allowed to kill anybody without our permission. They're not allowed, they like if you sign a pact or an oath, whatever, and basically sell your soul, that they can kill you. These secret societies, they have blood oaths, and they say if you ever betray this, we have the right to rip your tongue out, shove it down your throat, and hang you by your balls in the park. And then they can do that. Right? Because you've agreed to it. You've done this. I don't agree to any of that. I don't agree that anyone has any power over me. Okay. Again, I'm also small fry, but I don't believe that they can do anything to me. And that's the way I live my life. And if they do, so be it. But I don't believe that they can, because if they could do that, they just wipe us all out instantly. Right now, there's a volunteer only genocide program going on, and you guys know what it is, right? And no one's being forced. Everyone's being coerced, okay? But if you did it voluntarily, because there's nothing that demands that you do it.
That makes sense to me.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you have like a YouTube channel. You obviously have an app that's on mobile phones and all that. Okay, YouTube. So let's back up. They don't have to take you out or remove you. Okay, they signed an oath, whatever. Why don't they just prevent your stuff from working? I'm a software developer. It would be very
They do all the time. And so I've switched servers. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars fighting off attack. Our websites are attacked all the time. My YouTube channel has been taken down, and my videos, no one will ever find them unless you absolutely search for my name. Go search Flat Earth and see if my channel comes up. I have almost 100,000 subs. Okay. Everyone loves my videos. Right? But you can't find them unless you're directed to them. So they shadow ban them. They take me down. That's going to make me bigger, because people are like, wait, why did you take down Flat Earth? Why didn't you take down the Loch Ness Monster? Why didn't you take down Bigfoot?
That's what happens when they put me in Facebook jail all the time.
Well, I'm in Facebook jail every other week. So, sometimes I'll post something and go, hey, it was nice seeing you guys, but read this quick.
Look, I'll be the first to say that, especially over the stuff from the last couple of years, that one of the things that really woke me up to all of that was the fact that they would never let any credentialed people from the other side speak. They were immediately censored and shadow banned and shut down, removed off platforms, whatever, which told me, coming from the background we come from, that, oh, well, if you're shaming and shunning, you must be doing that because you don't want people to hear what they have to say.
Right.
So I don't disagree in principle. I just don't have an opinion, because I walk outside, the earth behaves the way it behaves. I don't trust the media already. I don't believe anything I can't see already. So for me, it's not a concern if you're right or if they're right. It doesn't, why does that matter to someone like me who already doesn't trust?
Do you have a job?
Trust the media. I'm self-employed.
You're self-employed. So do you work hard? Are you supporting yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. What if you didn't need to work that hard? What if you had a device that would heat your house for the rest of your life, cool your house for the rest of your life, and run your car for the rest of your life? You didn't have to pay for any more energy. Would that free up a little bit of your time?
Yeah, it would. And I saw that guy in the video. He mentioned that, but didn't talk about it. So what can you explain where all of this like
they're hiding
free energy
technology.
comes
I don't
from?
know. There's tons of free energy, dude. I'll show you. I have.
Or just point to where I could go to look at that, because I'm curious about. I'm just a curious person. I would like to see where the claim of the free energy thing. I've seen it. Oh, and I remember what I was going to say about the hydrogen and helium is because I've looked at all the data of nuclear power, and it's vastly more efficient and safer than what we're using now.
Oh,
and
I agree. Do you know why? Well, you know why? Nuclear power is not dangerous. Radiation is of the nuclear power plants are not dangerous. They're boiling water with plutonium. That's it. And it's not dangerous. Chernobyl, there's still plants, people, and animals living there. Fukushima, plants, people, and animals living there. It's all a scare tactic, right?
And that's my point, is that because I know that's true, like I know that being afraid of nuclear power is a scare tactic. I've seen the data for that.
Yeah.
Like I'm open-minded enough to listen or read about something that where there's free energy or whatever. I'm open to it.
So here's a machine that uses less than 100 watts of power, and it's outputting thousands of watts. Okay. And this machine does amazing things, but you won't find it out there, right? This is technology that they're not letting us know about. And the guy that built this machine pulled the information out of the ether, out of the Akashic records, if you will. He connected to them and was told how to build this. Okay. There's so much stuff that we are totally unaware of. Okay. In the app, on the web button, if you click the web button on my app, there's a button, Mud Floods in Tartaria. Hit that button, bring some food and water because you're not coming out for a while, and start watching what's going on, what's going on, the hidden technologies of our world. And you'll have a whole new view of the earth. Or if you hit the homeschool button, right here, this one right here, John Levy, this is just every new video he puts ends up in here, and just check that every week he adds one new video. All amazing stuff. And Crow 777 Radio, this is college right here. This is better than any college. It's $8 a month. Okay, $8 a month, better than any university you can send your kids to. So you want to save yourself money? Take your kid, send them to Crow University, make them listen to 2 new episodes every week because there's 2 new episodes. Listen to 3 old ones. So they got 2 hours a day for 5 days. They will be more useful in society than any college could pump them out to be. I'll hire those kids. Okay. So what difference does it make? It makes all the difference in the world. You work for yourself, good for you. You've created something, you do it yourself, you're your own boss. That's one of the best things. They don't teach you about entrepreneurship in school. They tell you got to go work for a corporation. You got to go to college. You got to go into debt. You got to, and take these regular slave jobs. But there's so much stuff that we can do together and bartering, and stop playing with their monopoly money. Once you do that, you unplug from the whole system. I went to college. I worked for corporate America. I was working for a big solar company, and I brought them into the commercial end of it. Was mastering at that. Company was sold. They shut down the solar division. Started my own company with two other people from that company, and we were doing phenomenal. I had the American dream, was making more money than I ever thought I would make. I was my own boss. It was great. Didn't have to commute. Everything was great. And then I walked away from it all because I realized the whole world has their heads so far shoved up their asses that they can't see what the hell's going on. They're spinning out of control, lost in godless space, and they're allowing all of this nonsense for the last 2.5 years to go on, and everything else that goes around that, right? And until people pull their heads out of their rear ends and wake up to who they are, where they are, we're going into some really dark times. So how did it change my life? My life is, this is what I do now. I love it. I love it. I've never worked harder in my life. I work all the time, but I love what I do. Work, do what you love and never work a day in your life. So,
Dave, I can appreciate what you're saying there, because I woke up to the geopolitical stuff of this world in March of 2020, and I've been speaking out about it ever since then. Now, me as well, I'm self-employed. I sell insurance, and I've been doing that since I was 21 years old. So I love being my own boss. I've always had the attitude where I don't want to work for somebody else. I want to do it on my own. But ever since that's all happened, and I've started waking up to, you know, the Illuminati, the plans, all this stuff that they've been doing to us, it really has changed a lot of my perspective in life. You know,
Yeah.
I used to have a desire. I mean, I still want to provide for my family and do well, but that drive to keep on that hamster wheel it's just not there anymore. But when I do stuff like this, knowing that I'm trying to bring knowledge to folks, that's more exciting to me.
Right.
And I wish there was a way I could.
There's so many of us, all those blue dots that I showed you, all of them are starting to do their own thing. You know, there's people homesteading, homeschooling, home birthing, right? There's people that having interesting conversations. My wife and I were always talking about stuff and learning new stuff. And, you know, the problem we have is we have to listen to everything on YouTube or wherever, listen to it on 2x speed, because that way we can take in twice the amount of content in the same amount of time, because we're thirsty for information. And that's what we're doing here. We're here in this creation that is endless, no way to get to the end, information that will help expand our minds, and I say our minds, I mean the mind of the collective creator. Okay, we're all part of this creation, and there's not a moment of the day. If I'm stuck in traffic, it doesn't matter. If I'm standing in a long line, it doesn't matter. If I wake up at 3 a.m. and can't get back to sleep, that's awesome, because I don't have to talk to anybody for 5 hours and I could research uninterrupted. Okay, so
I get it.
Yeah. So life is fascinating, interesting, wonderful, rewarding. And, you know, I'm going to do what I do, and there's nothing that could ever stop me. And, you know, when it does, it doesn't matter, because we're moving on to wherever we go next.
And I agree with what Jimmy said. Like, I've been self-employed for 20 years. My youngest daughter was born at home.
Nice.
They are both homeschooled and have been since
Fantastic.
they started school. And I have very, you know, in-depth, serious conversations with them about not trusting everything you're told, always requiring evidence, trusting your own two eyes, and about everything that's happened over the last 2.5 years, the gigantic, ugly-ass elephant in the room. You know, they know about that. They know how I feel about that. They know that I don't buy into any of that. So even if we are never on the same page about this thing, and I really don't, like, I don't have any real, I mean, I just don't care, to be honest. I would like to know more about the thing that you're saying about, like, the endless energy. Like, if there is somewhere to go to look at that, and I can do, you know, I'm techie enough, I can build some shit at home and try some things on my own. If there's a blueprint, like, I can read a schematic, so, you know, I can do that. I would be happy to look into that. But regardless of any of those things, I do think that people need to stop believing everything that they're being told without knowing the motivations behind the people who are telling them these things. And I am glad to see that a lot more people are doing that now. It's not enough people yet, but there are a lot more people who are questioning the motives, and that's a good thing.
And here's the problem. You can't teach somebody about flat earth if they don't care. But when people say, you know, Dave, that's some interesting information, but I still believe the earth is a globe, I just have one question for them. Can you give me one reason? And the best I can come up with, that's what I was taught. That's what other people think. That's what I was read in the textbook. And I can't imagine that many people can lie. That's it. They have no proof of the globe. And there's so much proof that we don't live on a globe. For example, on a globe, a 6-foot tall person at the edge of calm water shouldn't be able to see the water beyond 3 miles, because there's a 6-foot drop. So it should drop behind it. But we see way beyond that. And now with infrared, we can see hundreds of miles. Okay. We see things that should be behind the curve. Just for example, here is, this is, where is it? This is a spot in Alusia, France. We're looking out over the ocean. See the horizon, the apparent horizon, and Mount Canigou is 175 miles away. Well, from this viewing height at this location, the top of Mount Canigou should be half a mile or more below the curve, okay? And you can't see it. But in the heliocentric model, the sun migrates in between the two tropics, and twice a year, it lines right up with Canigou and where we're looking. And so Right now, you don't see me. You see the light that's bouncing off of me, and I can prove it by turning off these lights, and then you won't see me because there's no light bouncing off me. But what's brighter, this light that I see that's lighting me up, or the light that's bouncing off of me? And the answer is simple. The light is brighter because the light that's bouncing off of me isn't as bright as the source. Okay, easy schmeezy. So the light that's bouncing off of Mount Canigou isn't strong enough to push 175 miles through the soup of the atmosphere. However, the brightest light in the sky, the sun, is strong enough. And when it goes beyond Mount Canigou, it backlights it and you can see it. The very top of Mount Canigou should be over a half a mile below the curve, but it's still here. The argument that the Globers will give you is, oh, it is below the curve and the sun already set. It's just refracting up and stopping magically at eye level. Okay, that's ridiculous. This is a religion to believe that this isn't here. This is here. It's not a mirage. The sun is blocking, it's blocking the sun, and that's why we can see it.
Okay,
and that's it.
Now, I read the response to that because that was in the video that I watched for Jimmy about atmospheric refraction, which you can pass light through a prism and it will bend the light in a different direction. And the response to that is the atmosphere is not invisible. There are particles and the light does bounce off of those particles and creates a refraction. So it does bend it down so you can see it. So
you believe right now that this sun and this mountain are below a physical curve. Okay, this is here. This is not a mirage. You want to believe that's a mirage that is grasping at straws to hold on to your ball.
Okay, I'm not believing anything. I'm giving you the response that they give.
I know all the responses. I've seen them all.
Then answer why does that refraction through atmosphere not happen if I
it does. It does, but you can bend things through a prism. But here, this camera is at 1 foot high. The horizon should be less than 2 miles away, 1.22 miles to be exact. Okay, but this is 9.4 miles away. It's not a boat, so we know exactly where it is. There should be 59 feet of curvature. Here's the problem. We see the water here. We see the water here, and we see the water for dozens of miles beyond it. Now, for that refraction thing to happen, the water that's beyond it, that's ever so scooping, going lower and lower, it's all refracting up and stopping at eye level. The water in front of it is also refracting up and stopping at eye level, and this machine is refracting also. That is just an impossible, ridiculous idea. It's beyond Narnia. Narnia laughs at that. Okay, this is, we see what we see. It's not magical refraction that stops at eye level. How come the refraction doesn't refract it up here? So it's like kind of sloped down to us. It's always exactly at the plane level. Water lays flat. A submarine at the bottom of the ocean can see another submarine with sonar over 100 miles away. There would be a mountain over 6,000 feet tall, okay, over a mile tall, that sonar would have to go over, hit the submarine, come back, and hit the sonar. That's not how sonar works. Hit, bounce, okay? But it can see it because it's flat. Same thing on the surface. One boat can hit another boat with a pencil-thin laser beam over 100 miles away. There would be a wall of water 6,600 feet high between them. But there's not. They can see it. Microwave towers need line of sight. There's a microwave tower, I think it's between two islands in Hawaii or something, or I forget where it was, over 300 miles. I have to get a calculator to do the curvature. Their line of sight, 300 miles, impossible. Impossible.
Now, I'm not an engineer, but if atmospheric refraction is a thing, I'm not a physicist. I haven't done these experiments, but my point is, like, wouldn't that refract the waves from those towers too? I mean, it's
those towers, look it up.
Right?
You don't have to be an engineer. Look it up. It says it needs line of sight. It doesn't need refractive line of sight. It needs actual line of sight. And we can see, I can look across from where I am. I can look down Long Island Sound to New York City. Not only could I see New York City, I could see underneath the Whitestone. I shouldn't be able to see the top of the stanchions, right? There should be like 200 and some odd feet of curvature, and I shouldn't be able to see the tops of those stanchions. I can see underneath the bridge. Some days I can't see the bridge. Some days I can't see the bottom of the bridge. Okay. And that's because of atmospheric density, fog, pollution, waves, right? Like, can my finger hide my whole face if my face was a building or a boat or whatever? No. But if that wave was closer to you, sure, it could hide my whole face.
Hey,
right?
let me ask you this. Oh, sorry.
Good.
In the globe model, what is the distance if you're standing at just point A? What is the distance before the curve is supposed to start happening?
6 foot tall person should only be able to see the surface of the water at 3 miles away because there's a 6 foot drop. 1 mile is 8 inches. 2 miles is 32 inches, and 3 miles is 6 feet of drop, according to globe math. That is the accurate formula.
And AutoCAD verifies that.
There's like 3 formulas, and the 8 inches per mile squared is slightly off because it's really 7.98 miles, right? So it's actually giving the globe a little favor. It's giving some back to the globe because we don't need it. I looked at a buoy. It was 11 miles away. I rounded down to 10. At 10 miles, there should be 66 feet of curvature. So I said, you know what? This is when I was first learning about it. And I said, let me go to the debunking site, see what they say. And I went to Mick West's site, which is just disgusting that I even believe I went there. And he says, oh, it doesn't work that way. You know, it's not a hump in the middle. The object is halfway down. You're halfway down. So you have to cut that hump in half. That's retarded, but I'll give it to him. 33 feet of curvature. I can still see the 10 foot tall buoy. Okay. I can give it. There's so much leeway. Will give the globe every advantage they want. Okay. So, and we still win every single time.
Okay. I just looked up the 300-mile line of sight claim. And what I'm seeing is that there are no towers that can transmit line of sight farther than about 70 miles. What's the name of the tower?
I have to go look it up. I heard it was a while ago.
It was one in Israel.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, you're Googling. Google is going to feed you garbage.
I get it. I understand what you're saying, but I'm just trying to find a tower that claims that distance. The manufacturer that I'm looking at says that, yeah, you'll see on the box, it'll say that it can achieve 150 miles or whatever, but that's actually physically impossible because of the curvature of the earth. And
they're saying that, but we can see things. We can see. I can see underneath the white zone. There is no curvature.
I get it. Let me finish. God damn it. The point is that they're saying that, yes, it's going to say on the box that it can achieve such distances, but the reality is it will not because of the Earth's curvature. So the max you're going to actually get is 70 miles. So
where's that 70 miles tower? Where is that? How high is it?
No, they're just saying that you're not going to get on a 4K antenna more than 70 miles. So what I just would like to know the name of the towers that are 300 miles.
It's a microwave tower. I don't know. It was on Globebuster's show. You can look it up. I don't have everything at the tip of my fingers.
So let me go back to what I was asking her. So you said that it's the distance for a 6 foot person, like what, 3 miles before?
3 miles is 6 foot drop. Yeah.
Okay. So when I lived in Japan, when I was younger, we lived on Yokota Air Force Base. And from Yokota Air Force Base, we could see Mount Fuji.
Mm-hmm.
And the distance, and some days you could see it. Some days it was clear as all get out. Other days you couldn't even see Mount Fuji because of fog or whatever, smog, whatever. The distance, and it always looked the same. It was always the same height every time we got to see Mount Fuji from the Air Force Base. The distance is 45 miles. And it was always in the same spot. So just see if I'm right here. So according to the globe model, if Mount Fuji is 45 miles away from Yokota Air Force Base, technically, according to the globe model, I shouldn't have been able to see Mount Fuji. Is that correct?
You have to get one of those Earth curve calculators. I think GitHub. You just bring it up, and you put in your height and
the distance.
And the distance and the height of the mountain or whatever, and then you can judge it by the numbers.
I'm
Right.
just going off of what I saw. I never seen it. I never
Yeah.
seen it higher, never
Yeah.
seen it lower.
So,
Yeah, but
so
unless
what
you do the
altitude
numbers,
were you
it's not
at?
gonna matter.
So in the app, we have the Earth curve calculator, which is, where is it? It's in here somewhere.
The Air Force Base
You
altitude.
passed it. It was on the left-hand side. Go down. There you go.
There it is, Earth curve calculator. So you put in your height. How high? How far were you?
How far away was
I mean,
it?
how height? What was that? What was your eye height?
My
The altitude.
of Yokota?
Yeah.
Let me find out.
I mean,
Altitude of
Yeah.
Tokyo. 131 feet.
so we put in 131. And then how many miles was it?
45.
45. Calculate. So there should be horizon distance is 14 miles, and there should be 640 feet hidden. It's not a lot for looking at a mountain. 640 feet, 64 stories should have been hidden. Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah. I couldn't see the whole mountain. I mean, we could see the top. You know, the snow peak.
Again, when you start looking at things in the distance, the bottoms get obscured. Like, for example, this building right here, you can't see the bottom floors. The Globers love this, but these little waves, this horizon line right here is miles in front of this hotel. Okay. And the hotel is getting smaller and smaller and smaller behind it. When I zoom out on this picture, this hotel gets so small, you can't see it.
Right.
It's gone. Right. And you think it's behind the curve, but you zoom in, but wait a minute, the bottom floors are missing. Well, look at these balconies. These balconies are all the same height. Look, they're getting compressed. Is there any atmospheric compression going on here? Yep. Is there anything hidden behind these little waves? Absolutely. If I move this wave a little closer, it'll hide more and more and more. Right? So everything compresses into your eye line. I was on the water, and a quarter mile from land, and there's a big tree line, maybe 150 foot high. And I'm looking up at those trees. They're up. They're definitely up. But then I go a mile offshore. The tops of those trees are now at my eye line. They're at my eye line. They look like they're the same height. I'm only a mile out, right? Beyond those trees, another 10 miles is a building that sticks up in in White Plains, and it's the Ritz building. And I can just see the very top of it from a mile off my shore. So if I'm on a globe, the farther away I go, the less of that building I should see. Well, the opposite happens. I go 26 miles in the other direction, that building gets taller and taller and taller above those trees. That's not a globe. That's a flat Earth.
Okay,
With
just
atmospheric
FYI, I found the tower that you're talking about. I believe it goes from Sudan to Saudi Arabia. It's 360 kilometers, but that's the total distance. It uses relays in between 30
I don't
and
know if
60
that's the one.
miles.
I don't know that that's the
So
one. We had a
that's
microwave expert on that was talking about it. So
Yeah.
you can Google all day
That's-
long. Take the microwave towers off the list. We can see too far. There is no curvature. Water lays flat. Nowhere has ever curve ever been found. Nowhere has axial rotation been found. And every time it's been tested for, it proves the opposite. The CIA, the FBI, the Air Force, the airline industry, all have disclosed documents that say they treat the Earth as a flat, non-rotating plane. Okay. Why would they say that? Oh, because it's so big. You might as well treat it like that, right? Nonsense. They want us to believe that we can't see the curve, that boats go over the curve, but we can't see the curve from 120,000 feet because the Earth is so big. But we can see a boat go over the curve just a few miles away. Nonsense. They want everything. The globe is so stupid that a lot of people have a hard time seeing it. And people that say I still believe in the globe, can instead of trying to debunk flat Earth, prove the globe? What's your best? We got to wrap this up soon, but what's your best proof of the globe?
Exactly what you've been
All
told
the
before.
other planets.
What we-
That's great one. Great. And that reminds me, I want to show you a couple things. So all the other planets look round. You know what? They might be round. Look at the lights in your ceiling right now and tell me what shape your floor is. Okay. Tell me the correlation between the lights in your ceiling and your floor, right? There is no correlation. So here is the, where is it? So here is what is this? Is this the sun? Can you tell what this is?
It's probably a street light.
Sun, train.
Is it what shape is this light?
Circular, it look like.
Looks spherical. Certainly does, right? Yes. It's a train. And if we bring the train forward, you'll see, well, it looks kind of circular, but as it gets closer, it's a whole bunch of lights. Everything gets pushed into a sphere in the distance. You saw a circle. It looked like a sun. You know, the planets that we look at could be something like this. You don't know. Okay. But I've had a telescope. I've looked at Saturn. It looks pretty cool, right? It looks like a light. Doesn't look like it's reflecting distant sunlight. Right. And again, you can't measure something. So I just want to give you this is fun. This is going to bend your brain. Okay. This is a trapezoid. It's not square. It's just done in perspective. So it kind of looks weird, but it looks like it's going back and forth like this. It's actually spinning all the way around, but your brain can't figure it out because your brain thinks that the closest part is always the tallest part. It's actually spinning in a circle, right? But it looks like it's spinning back and forth, right? That's not the interesting part, right? He's going to take a pencil or pen and he's going to stick it through the window and he's just going to stick it there. Okay. He's got a little piece of tape. He's going to put it in there and then he's going to spin it around and see if that breaks the illusion. Okay. And it's going to spin all the way around. He's got a piece of thread. He's twisted it up and he's going to hold it and it's going to spin around. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
You're going to be able to see it spin around.
Yeah, you think that, but no, your brain's not going to be able to figure it out and it's going to short circuit. Okay.
It is crazy.
Isn't that crazy? So here's just one more. And are these tables the same width and the same length?
By observing it, they look different. So see, he's gonna stick that over the end.
And now that I showed you, can you see it another way? No, you can't. You can't. You still see them differently. You can't sort it out in your mind and say, I just saw him lay that piece of paper down. You can't do it, right? So our eyes, unless you can touch it and measure it. Now, if you were there and you were this guy, you got it and you can measure it. You can probably break the illusion, but you can't do it just by looking at this. So when we look up at the sky, we don't know how big they are. We don't know how far they are. We don't know what they're made of, right? But if you look at the moon, it looks like it's producing its own light. It doesn't look like a dusty, dirty ball reflecting the sun, right? The full moon can cast a shadow of me on the ground. I could read by it in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. How does a dusty, dirty ball send light back to Earth that much? And by the way, the light that's hitting it has to be 60 times brighter than the sun itself for it to come back to Earth and us see it at 1 lumen in brightness. Because every time you half your distance to something, it's 4 times brighter. And you keep doing that till you're 100 miles from the moon, and it's 60 times brighter than the sun. You can't imagine the sun twice as bright as it is.
Or the astronauts landing on it.
Yeah, they would vaporize, right? And then going back to Polaris, I haven't even done the calculation because no one will even understand the number. Polaris has to be like 90 quintillion times brighter than the sun for us to see it at the brightness that we do, right? The number is a nonsensical number that just doesn't exist, all right? But people just like, I believe it. And that's what I was taught. I don't want to take my ball away. Don't take my ball away, okay? There's a lot to this, right? And like when we look up at the sun, I don't believe it's the sun that we see here. One more thing. So I got a flashlight 10 feet on the other side of this. I call this my sky sheet. And it really looks like the sun. It's kind of round. It really looks like the sun. Flashlight's actually got a square lens on it. Okay. But I still see a round sun here. Now, my girlfriend's over here. I'm over here. I go from her point of view. I go, where's the sun? She goes, right there. So if I quickly drew a circle right there on that sheet, She sees the sun over there. I see the sun over here. Could we possibly triangulate the sun? Well, we know the distance between us. We could calculate the angle, but we're looking at two different things. I don't believe that we see the sun it's in a unique position to our own. I believe that the sun that we see when it rises and when we set, it's traveling less than 200 miles during the day. I don't believe it's 100 miles when I see it. I think it's way closer. But that's the sun that I see. Once you understand that it's not a physical object, these things start making perfect sense. Let me show you one more thing. So if this is how the sun works, well, how would an eclipse work? How would a solar eclipse work? Well, the solar eclipse, no one has ever seen the moon approach, eclipse, or exit the sun, okay? So think about this. How would an eclipse work in this situation? Well, the eclipsing body could be behind the apparent sun that we see. The apparent sun is on the sheet here. So let's see what that looks like. So if we so here is an eclipse that I filmed. It was a hazy day. Took a picture of the eclipse. Can't see the moon, but I see something eclipsing here. It could be the moon. And here's the eclipse that I created, right? So here's the eclipse that's being filmed. And we notice this thing here and this thing here, right? The sun is about 85% eclipse, but you can't see it because it's blowing out the lens. But like, why are we seeing this? Well, this is clearly a lens flare because it's moving around, but this one is locked in position with the sun. What is it? And I said, maybe it's the projector, the actual source of the sun. Maybe. Let's do an experiment. And this is the apparent sun that we see on the sky sheet, if you will. All right. So this isn't a lens flare because it's locked to it. So let's just jump forward a little bit here. So I did a little experiment. I have my sky sheet, which is a paper towel. I got a projector behind it, and I'm eclipsing it with a circular device. Now I can't see it. I only see the eclipsing body, just like we only see the eclipsing shape. We never see the bottle cap. We never see the bottle cap that's eclipsing the sun, right? Just like in reality. And we never see it exiting either. This is just the eclipse happening, but we can't see. We see sky, we see sun, we see eclipse, but we don't see what's eclipsing it. Now I did it with a thinner sheet, tissue paper. And look, here it is. I'm eclipsing it. And look, there's the source. There's the sun that we see. This source is always there, but you can't see it when there's a full sun because it's blinding you. Here's the real eclipse. There's the source. Here's the source, the apparent sun. Now I created an experiment that mimics exactly what we see. I predicted it, I did it, and it showed the same result. Show me a better explanation of how we see an eclipse.
All I'll say is, damn. I will say this, it is, man, hold on. Because of everything else that I've studied and learned about what's been going on in this world here the last 2.5 years, I've come to the conclusion that it's best for me to always keep an open mind and look at evidence, look at facts, look at data. I've learned that from John to go along with my intuition. So with everything that you've presented tonight, Dave, for somebody that does have an open mind, it makes me think, okay, this is worth looking into and exploring a little more. And then I sit here and thinking, okay, why would it even matter? Okay. For your
hiding more land, hiding technology, hiding cures. They're trying to control the population. They're trying to, they're doing a great reset. You know, I told you they're not allowed to do stuff to us without telling us. They're not allowed to injure us unless we agree. They're telling us. They wrote a friggin' book called The Great Reset, and no one's willing to read it.
John and I did a video on The Great Reset.
Good for you.
And we explained it,
it got deleted from YouTube, right?
Actually, not yet. Surprisingly, it didn't get.
I'm reporting it. That's it. I'm reporting it.
I have one more answer for Jonathan that I just wanted to pass on. Now, the elephant in the room for the past 2.5 years. If people were confused by what was going on, then they were likely to fall for it, right? Mm-hmm. Well, so what if the next elephant in the room is going to be the climate change and the climate lockdown?
Oh, it's already
that's already happening.
Yes. But lockdowns, I mean that this is going to be the next thing that if
They
people
tried it.
fall for it, they will go right along with it, and then there'll be victims all over again.
Yeah.
But if we understand that we're in the structured greenhouse, then we're not going to fall for what they're telling us. They're trying to confuse us.
Imagine if everyone in the world, all 2 billion people, okay, imagine if everyone in the world watched this video and goes, you know what, they're right, screw the government. We wouldn't even know who the governments are. They're a flea on our ass. Okay, they're nothing, right? The only reason people fear the government is because they've been programmed to fear the government. They don't have any control over you. Okay. The problem is all of the NPCs out there, they're all just obeying and doing and following, and they make it difficult for the rest of the herd to, do their own thing. But we need to break free. You guys have broken free from some of the chains in your life. You guys have open minds. You guys are all aware of the nonsense from the last 2 years, 2.5 years. Okay. You guys are far better off than most of the people that are fast asleep that think we live on a globe. Now, there's good people out there, smart people out there. There's some great truthers out there that just can't see flat Earth. Okay. But there's something in the programming. You want to see the programming? Go to a 10-year-old boy or girl and go, hey, you want to know a secret? And they'll be like, what? Get their interest and go, they won't teach you this in school. Now you really got their interest. Go, the Earth is flat. The kid will literally chop your head off. He'll throw so much propaganda at you. It's like, where did this come from? These kids are so brainwashed into this globe, and they have no proofs. I've asked 3 or 4 times, haven't gotten an answer. What's your best globe proof? That pissed me off when somebody asked me that, because I couldn't come up with one. It's been 7 years. I still can't come up with one.
David, if I could ask you, what would you say is the one big flat Earth proof that sort of blows the whole heliocentric model out of the water?
There's so many, each one by itself. Seasons prove the flat Earth, right? The high pressure next to no pressure, low pressure, can't have that. It breaks the second law of thermodynamics. Large bodies of water lay flat. The Nikon P900, P1000 cameras blow flat Earth out of the water. Our consumer optics have outgrown their lies. Okay. And common sense and the appeal to authority fallacy. I don't have a degree. I'm not a scientist. I don't have a PhD. That's ridiculous. The PhDs are the most indoctrinated of all. Now there's some people that have gone to school. They learn to become trauma surgeons, mechanics, all sorts of very important things. That's great. Right. But all of the other crap that they teach you to work for a corporation, most jobs are meaningless. There's so many meaningless jobs out there. They're just trying to keep you busy. And then they give you your freedom on the weekends where you can have some alcohol, even during lockdown. Liquor stores are open. Churches are closed. Okay. You can go and sports, go see sports. That way you can have a victory. Your team wins. You're like, yes, we won. Now you have a victory. You made some money. Got to go to work again, right? And then they want you to work your whole life until you're sick and die, and that's it. They want you that's it. And they want you. The drug companies have a stated goal that they want every kid by age 11 on at least 3 lifelong medications, publicly stated.
Yeah, wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. Well, this has been very interesting.
So listen, flatearthdave.com. My YouTube channel there, my interviews channel, my app is there. If you have a show or know of a show that wants to have this fun conversation, there's a book, Flat Earth Dave there. I have Flat Earth Coffee if you want to leave some in the coffee room at work, right? I have it's just coffee grown on a flat Earth, okay? And it just has a cool label. And it's really good coffee though. And I have my crash courses there. If you don't have a phone that could put the app on it, just go take the crash course. Great videos in that. Aren't you
going to do something in October in South Carolina?
Oh, Flattoberfest. Yes, thank you. Flattoberfest. Is anyone near South Carolina?
Me and John are in North Carolina.
Are you coming to Flattoberfest?
Oh, y'all need to go. You need to go to that.
Dude, you have to come. You'll have a great time. What's that?
Where's it at?
Flattoberfest.com. Right? Or it's in Greenville, South Carolina.
That's about 3 hours away.
Go for it. It's 13 hours from me. I'm going.
David, do you think they'll bring that to Canada someday?
We had conferences in Canada, but it's hard to get there with Castro running the place.
Oh, exactly.
So
Yeah, little-
we have a lot of people from Canada that want to come, but they're like I'm not, doing the what I got to do to go.
It's a different climate here. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's a little crazy.
Adele's little boy.
Next year it's going to be
Yeah.
in Vegas, assuming we're all still alive.
Turdo. Yeah.
So flattoberfest.com. It's also, if you have the app, hit the shopping cart button, go to meetups. It's there. And it's October 20th is we have a big barbecue picnic in the park, music, fun. 21st and 22nd is the conference and the music festival. And basically it's a huge social meetup where every single person there becomes your best friend.
Hey, thanks, David. And I just want to say thanks for going slightly over your time limit here. I know you're
All right.
giving us your time and energy, and just really appreciate you highlighting these things. There was so much that wasn't covered, so maybe you could come back sometime if you can.
Yeah.
Down the road. And
What I recommend is in the app, hit the web button, the one that looks like a spider web, and then hit Flat Earth Dave interviews. Go through some of my interviews there. Go over flight routes, right? Flight routes prove the Earth is flat. Absolutely, 100%.
yeah, I've
Okay.
watched most of the interviews. I've just been enjoying them. I've recently subscribed to the Friend Finder, and I find it
Nice.
really neat to connect with people close by.
So the
I
Friend Finder,
find it-
I'm doing an upgrade on it where it's gonna be like iMessage with all sorts of stuff, but it's really, really expensive. And come January 1st, the subscription cost might go up a couple dollars, but come January 1st, you need the subscription to receive and send messages. Right now, you only need a subscription to send, but it's going to be receive also. The subscription, $11 a year. You ever buy anybody a drink at a bar? Okay.
Yeah, it's cheap.
A margarita, one margarita, you get it for a friggin' year. Okay. So it's $11. I don't feel bad about that, but the service fees on the Friend Finder alone are well over $5,000 a month. Okay. So you got to subscribe.
Yeah, and so for anyone's watching, there's tons of stuff that Dave was showing from the app, the question and answers. There's so much to unravel. So basically any question that you have can be answered just with that app, as opposed to going on YouTube and Google where it's all controlled and
Right. And
information.
what I tell people that, hey, interesting, I'm still a ball earther. Okay. I say every day there's a featured video right there on the app. Tap the thumbnail. And all I say is when you're having your breakfast, you get up in the morning, click that, watch the video. I usually do short ones during the week, longer ones on the weekend. Watch it every day for 2 weeks and see what happens. Okay. And I have a challenge. After 2 weeks, if you can come up with one globe proof, you get 3 Bitcoins. You win 3 Bitcoins, but check the frequently asked questions first because the questions probably answered in there. Check it out. And it's a life changer. Why does it matter? It matters more than anyone can imagine. But I had the same question. Why does it matter? But big deal. I have to go to work. Well, guess what? I don't have to go to work anymore. Life changed. Life is amazing. Life is hysterical. This whole thing is hysterical, actually.
Yeah, my
So-
biggest thing is when you wake up and realize that you've been lied to your whole life by your religion
Tough.
or by your government.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they lie about this?
You guys
Yeah.
took a big ego
Only
beating,
fast.
admitting that you did that to get away from the Jehovah's Witness thing, and you guys are able to handle a little ego beating. Oh, you got to switch from the globe to this. You're going to take a massive ego beating, but the good thing is your feet land on a solid foundation. You're not spinning out of control in an infinite space void. Okay, you're here at the center of creation with great power.
yeah, it really is worth taking
Wow.
that step
Cool.
Cool.
This was fun.
personally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was actually really fun. I enjoyed listening to this, man. I
Jay,
feel very,
Jay,
Oh, thanks,
Jay.
like, I
Jay.
feel
Jay.
like energized.
Jay, that's because that's your soul, you're the true you speaking, going, oh, now you're finally listening. It's like, pay attention. Get the app and just watch the daily video each day. And what happens is after a couple days, you're like, I don't want to wait another day. So you hit the archive button, which is the button right next to it. It says archive. And then you can go backwards and start watching all the older videos. And then you realize you've missed 3 days of work. You haven't talked to anybody and you haven't eaten in 2 days or
Oh
slept.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you'll be like,
I
Oh
need
my
to
God.
delete.
Oh my God. How did I miss this? How did I miss it? I was the worst. When I heard about flat earth, I'm like, I'm not looking at that. No way. I wouldn't watch anything. I banned people from our social media. And then finally, my friend Sophia Smallstorm, she's like, Dave, you got to look at this. And I say, don't believe a YouTube video. Let the video point to a door, then go look through the door yourself. All right. Don't believe anything I say. All right. I'm just some crazy guy that says the earth is flat. Go check it out yourself. Check it out yourself. And once you honestly do, and stop Googling, because Google is literally, you're going, government, please answer my questions. And they'll, let me answer. Look at every real flat earth video underneath it. The flat earth is an ancient concept that's been debunked. Well, how has it been debunked? Tell me. It's never been debunked.
That's
Never.
what Watchtower says about flat earth too. They have a little, article, and they cherry pick a scripture, and then they take that scripture out of context, saying, well, it says it's a circle, so it must be a sphere, so therefore we live on a globe.
Yeah. I mean, the getting back to the Bible, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the Bible about flat earth. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't use it as proof because we can touch and see and feel, and we can use our God-given senses and see and experience, right?
I will say for the XJW community, that is a very good way of approaching this issue, by going with the science and not going with the biblical stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But the biblical stuff is there to support if you do believe in the Bible. But it is a scientific standpoint, and there's proof with the science, as opposed to listening to the scientism and NASA, which is like a religion all in itself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
NASA is a religion, y'all think?
NASA is a religion. God, you've seen the. I mean, we don't have time, but
Jay, we'll talk about it.
Okay. All right.
Go in the app and click is NASA the only space agency? Bring food and water.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
All right,
guys.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jonathan.
So
and think about this stuff. It's amazing. It's life-changing.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable having
Thanks
you
for
guys
having me.
on.
All right, guys, send me a link when this is up and I'll share it on the app. All right.
Okay,
All right.
thanks, David. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks
Good
for
night,
joining.
everybody. See you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.